Welcome back. This week things got a little intense. Today I'm pulling back the curtain to show you the messy middle of creating my first illustrated zine, The World is Full of Stories. And if you're also passionate about living creatively and following your dreams, then you're in the right place because that is exactly what this channel is all about. If you're new here and want to know more about this project, feel free to check out my first video, which will explain what zines are and exactly what this zine is about. But for those of you following along, this week was really tough creatively. My intention in sharing any of this is that all too often I feel like we only see the before and after of somebody's big dream or creative project that they're pursuing. And then when we go to create our own thing, we find it's way more messy and chaotic than we thought it would be. So I'm hoping that by showing you more of my messy middle, it will give you the courage to brave your own. These big creative projects can ask a lot of us, as anybody who has ever created something from their heart could tell you. I don't think we get enough of a view sometimes into the asking a lot of us, period, and what that actually looks like. So it's easy for us to devalue it. Just, oh, yeah. Sure. That's what happens in everybody's creative project or everybody's dream is they had that video montage period where it was really difficult, but they pulled through and they made it happen. Even in movies, it's like it's short and there's music and you know it's going to be fine and they're going to come through. So then we end up devaluing it when it happens to us and maybe even not expecting it when we find ourselves experiencing something similar in our own creative pursuit. So let's talk about that messy middle that happened this week. As I mentioned, this week started out really tough. I was in my head so much this week, and as such, I didn't make as much progress as I had wanted on the zine. In fact, all signs were actually pointing to not even finishing the zine, maybe not even doing this YouTube video update, just quitting everything. I, of course, also had temptations to just slip away quietly from the internet and just hide in my life again. So what was holding me back? Well, it was a bunch of stories inside my head that I needed to look at and work through. Stories like, it's taking too long. There isn't enough time. Editing my videos last week took a lot longer than I had hoped for and planned for. So I started the week already feeling behind. I didn't even get to actually working on my zine until midweek, which was discouraging because I've kept hoping that I could be done with the entire zine by mid-May, which, no matter when you're watching this video, is about 4 weeks from now. And at this point, I honestly just don't even know if that's possible or not. The taking too long thought was also really hard to work with whenever I would have time that I'd scheduled to get to my easel and to start painting and drawing, because it made it feel like that voice in my head was just so critical of how slowly I was drawing that day or painting that day. So it was just like having one of those gremlins on your shoulders. It just made it hard to do anything. I just kept thinking in my head, like, at this rate, it's going to take a year to finish this zine. And if it takes a year, that's basically the same as never finishing it. And so it was so difficult with that story to actually get stuff done this week. The next story and thoughts in my head was around, what's the point? Why bother? Why even try? This one really hit after I was going through our family's monthly budget, and I started to realize just how long it might take me to ever earn about the same amount of money through my art as I do from my full-time job. Now, I don't always think this way, but this time it just really hit. I think because of like anxiousness and nerves around the economy right now, but it made me really devalue everything I want to do with my art simply based on the amount of money that the art could maybe produce. And yes, I usually just do art for the joy of it, and it's a joy passion project, but I really fell prey to the trap this week of thinking if my art was really good enough, then it's going to bring in tons of money. And honestly, I can laugh about it now, but it felt really serious at the time earlier this week, largely because this created this thought doom spiral where I was thinking I should be farther along in my art journey and I already should be making really good money with my art if I was any good. Like, for some reason, my quality of art and like how much money it was bringing in were all wrapped up together, and it was a mess in my head. And then the other story that was just running rent free in my head was, this is the part where I always quit. This was such an annoying thought at first. It made me feel like I'm a quitter and I'm a total failure at everything I've ever tried, which isn't true, by the way, but it did feel that way. But then as the week progressed, I started to see that instead of feeling like this was a totally new problem that I've never seen before, I could see how this was actually familiar territory in my mind, and that these same types of stories and thoughts have totally limited me and kept me stuck in the past. It started to feel like that one difficult level in a video game where you just haven't been able to beat it yet, no matter how many times you've tried. And yes, I could start to see some patterns where these types of thoughts have totally been a brick wall in the past, and I have walked away from creative projects and dreams and goals because of hitting up against it before. And sadly, lots of those times I would give up, but I would tell myself the nice story of, well, it's just not meant to be. Blech. So how did I end up breaking through? As I was looking at all of these internal stories and genuinely contemplating if I should quit or not, I saw that I actually am really determined to see these creative projects through. I could see how if and when there are blocks, I feel pretty committed that I am going to look for a way around it or through. But ultimately, it was such a relief to my entire nervous system when I was journaling through all this and found myself writing, I'm not going to quit. For some reason, I just really needed to hear that. And after that point of me like sitting in that and thinking, yeah, that's right, I'm not going to quit. And after that point, I just got to work and everything got so much easier. I find this is often the way when I have these annoying thoughts and stories in my head, that they are the reason, they are the big thing blocking me. And when I don't address them, everything feels impossible and like it's never going to work out. But when I actually take the time to question them and look at them and really think about it, then I can find my way through, and suddenly there's not this big thing blocking my path anymore, and I can just get to work and do the thing that I really want to do. This all reminded me of the concept my best friend Callie had told me years ago about the difference between how difficult it is when you are 99% committed versus 100% committed, and how much more energy it takes when you are only 99% committed. When you're 99% committed, you still have to convince yourself on a regular basis because you're still kind of holding one foot out. You're not all in. But when we're 100% committed, it is so much easier to maintain and sustain. This reminds me of how much fuel or energy it requires to get a spaceship off of the ground, out of Earth's gravitational pull, versus the amount of fuel that it takes for it to just remain in the air. Whenever we make a big change, it requires a lot of energy to get that big shift going. But after time, it doesn't require as much energy to sustain and maintain it. So being only 99% committed is like staying in that takeoff phase where you're just getting all this energy to boost off and then crashing back down again, and getting more energy to boost off and crash back down again, and doing this over and over again every day in and week out. It's exhausting. But being 100% committed feels like making the big change initially and then being able to shift into that maintain and sustain mode to keep going. I should also mention that at this point in the project, when everything is still fresh and new, I don't have a lot of friends and family cheering me on. I also certainly do not have enough subscribers to hold me accountable. So it would have been really easy to just quit and walk away, and no one would have even noticed. But that would have been out of integrity with my own heart and soul and what I'm wanting to create and what I've committed to create. And this is also just how it goes in the beginning of big creative projects, dreams, and goals. It's a faith walk that's fueled by your vision and belief in it. Now, over the years, I've done a lot of these types of faith walks, so I have really built the muscle to believe in myself and my vision enough to get things off the ground. But I also have had a lot of creative projects and things that I've been excited about and goals I've had that I have let slip flip when I've hit similar walls as I did this week. As a brand strategist with my own agency, I saw this all the time in my clients as well. It was like they felt the need to convince me, or that they felt like they needed to get me to believe in their vision and dream as much as they did so that they could have the courage to move it forward. I'd have to keep reminding them that their vision, their belief in it, was the primary thing that would keep this going and would make it successful. I was just a cheerleader at that point. Thankfully, on the what's the point front, Callie caught me spiraling and encouraged me to take the pressure off.
Hi, I'm so sorry. You are painfully looping in your head. It's the worst. So I was listening. The thing that I felt like seemed to take you out, or part of it, was the idea of it needing to provide all the things. So it's like, is there anything that can be taken off of its back that makes it lighter, that makes it easier to do? So like, the goal isn't about making money right now. It's just about being consistent. And what do I need to do to be able to be consistent, right? It's like, if you can stay consistent, that's how you become successful.
It really made me stop and look at just how much pressure I had been putting on my art, this zine, my YouTube videos, absolutely everything that I'm trying to do creatively. And it was really a big wake-up call. I evaluated how much of it was even helpful or necessary. I reminded myself also why I'm even doing any of this, which is primarily for the fun of it and for the joy of learning and growing. I'm also really excited to connect with other like-minded people and to find my tribe, especially here on YouTube. I'm also excited to keep developing my art skills and building my storytelling muscles. All of this led to me revisiting my priorities. Over the past few weeks, I've been hoping to juggle filming, planning, editing, and posting 2 YouTube videos a week. Initially, I was hoping to do 3 a week. That was insane. Sending out a newsletter through my Substack, making my zine, posting reels and shorts from the long form content that I'm making for YouTube to Instagram and TikTok, and posting daily notes on Substack. And yes, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm hearing just how much that really is. And of course, keep in mind that I'm hoping to do all of this while also being a mom and a wife and having a full-time job. So this week, where I really felt the pinch of just how much capacity I may or may not have, I decided I needed to narrow that massive list down and pick what are my 1 to 2 non-negotiables, and then be okay with letting some of those other things slide when I have a busier week than normal, or I just simply don't have energy to be able to put there or don't want to. So after careful evaluation, I was actually really surprised to see that my number 1 non-negotiable is my 2 YouTube videos a week. I realized that actually, if my zine does take a year or 2 years, it won't, but that I'm actually in a lot of ways fine with that, because I'm the one putting all those deadlines on myself. And I just really want to be consistent with YouTube this year. So knowing this has helped me to relax and lean into my new normal, where I make 2 YouTube videos a week and keep working on my art. Maybe some weeks I'll be able to get back to posting more on social media and being more active with Substack notes, but I'm not going to lose any sleep about the weeks when it doesn't work out. In spite of all of this, I did get a few pieces for my zine done this week. These lovely ladies are for my You Are What I Say You Are spread. It's all about how people are typically much more complex than what the stories in our brains simplify them down to be. As far as the art goes, I've really been wanting to get better at drawing hair, so I was really excited about how the hair turned out specifically. Maybe silly to say, I know, but it was a win. This dragon felt really appropriate for the week that I had, since it's exactly along the lines of what I've been struggling with. This is for a spread that's all about how those inner critical voices and limiting beliefs and thoughts and stories can feel like fierce dragons blocking our path. But just like in fairy tales, these dragons can be faced and overcome. This drawing really embodies the struggle and feeling of pushing through. So now altogether, I've completed the drawings for 3 spreads, especially since I had already drawn this bear in the past and included it on this spread. I am still tempted to throw some watercolor splashes down underneath some of these drawings, so I don't know that these spreads are totally done, but it's fun to see them coming together. And then seeing them in these mock-ups makes me really excited to keep moving forward and see this project through. So that's a peek into my sometimes challenging, but ultimately rewarding messy middle of the creative process. I hope sharing this honest look behind the scenes of my own process will inspire you and encourage you to keep going in your own creative endeavors, even if you've hit similar walls as I hit this week. It's important to remember that the journey isn't always smooth, and those tough moments are part of bringing something really meaningful to life. Next week, I'll be back with another update on the progress of the art. Hopefully, we'll see even more of The World is Full of Stories coming to life. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it, and so you apply a little bit more pressure to me staying accountable and finishing it. And in the comments, I would love to hear if you can relate to getting stuck in that messy middle, and I'd love to hear what helped you to get out of it. Or if you want to recommit to getting out of it, let me know in the comments as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you in the next video.